Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. As always, I'm Nick, and we got Harrison and Sean. How we doing tonight, fellas?
Evening, boys.
Good. Glad to be back.
Good. All right, before we get started, make sure you like, follow, share our Facebook page, Rounding Third Baseball Podcast, and you can also subscribe on YouTube. Leading off tonight, we got some pretty cool news that just came down the pipe. When we first started, it was like episode, what was it, Harrison? Like 3 or 4, maybe? We weren't far in.
First few.
First few, we interviewed David Griffin, who was a single-A pitcher from the Brooklyn Cyclones, and he was a graduate of Curry College. He got promoted to Double-A Binghamton Rumble Ponies today, so a shout out to him, dude. That's awesome, and one of the best, minor league mascots, the Rumble Ponies. But I mean, it's just awesome. Like, he was such a great guy to talk to, and interview. So if you haven't seen it, you can go back and see him. Great stuff to talk about. But he stayed the whole show with us, talked baseball the entire time. Like, it was such a great show. But congratulations to him right off the top.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
good guy, fun to talk to. Nice to see him moving up.
Yeah, it was so cool. So staying, and it's also the Mets affiliate, so we'll stay with the Mets leading off here. The Mets had a combined no-hitter against the Philadelphia Phillies this week. Are we ever going to see a no-hitter by a single pitcher ever again? And are they all going to be combined no-hitters, or are we just going to pull people that have perfect games in the seventh?
Well, if Dave Roberts wasn't a manager, you might have already seen one, but
crazy. But
yeah. Am I good for you guys?
You're good.
Or is it just
You're
me? Hold on, I'm gonna drop out and come back in.
Okay. Well, they had 5 pitchers that combined for the no-hitter, right? I think it was 5.
Yeah. Which it seems like, that's a lot of pitchers for a combined no-hitter. A lot of times you'll see it be like 2 guys, maybe 3, but 5's a lot. That's a lot of pitchers combining for a no-hitter. But the combined no-hitter is still cool. I would like to see a real no-hitter from one pitcher again sometime soon, but it feels like, especially this point in the season, nobody's allowed to go very deep into games. It's all pitch count based and innings, and I think there's a lot of concern around the shortened spring and what these guys are going to look like come later in the year. So,
I mean, I totally get that, but you're not going to see an opening day Hideo Nomo no-hitter ever again.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think, Harrison, I think you make a good point. Like, I think the shortened spring training has something to do with it. I mean, it's only May 2nd. Like, I do think that plays a role. And while I still fully 1,000% disagree with the Kershaw pulling him with a perfecto after 7, but like that side of it, I kind of understand. But yeah, Nick, just to answer, I don't know if we'll ever see a straight up no-hitter. I mean, we're certainly not this early in seasons. And regardless of the spring training, I think even next year, if they have a regular full spring training, I still think you're going to see this kind of like babying of the arms and really taking guys along slow. And, there's no need to throw 300 innings anymore. Like, that's just not a thing that pitchers are going to do. Like, I think you might see a no-hitter. I don't think remember, was it last year or 2 years ago? We saw like 4 in the month of April. I don't think we're ever going to see an April no-hitter ever again. Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to see an April one. July, August, maybe, when people are full and they're confident and comfortable and guys are kind of mowing through, maybe. But that's probably it, would be my guess.
But I mean, you're right. Because I mean, even in July, like, you have everybody out in the bullpen throws triple digits. You don't need a starter to go 9 innings anymore, dominant or not. Throw 5 or 6, and then there's 3 guys that come in and just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, game's over.
I know, but there's something to be said for a pitcher that is mowing through a lineup. Like, there's something to be said. There are days where, like, I don't know, I'm trying to pick like a pretty good but not great pitcher. Like, there are days when, like, Taijuan Walker, I got the Mets game on here, so he popped into my head, right? Like, there are days where, like, Taijuan Walker is absolutely dealing, and there's just something about what he's doing that's struggling for a lineup. And you guys have all been there. Like, you're facing a hitter that's just mowing it through. All you want to see is a different arm. You just get me to the bullpen. Just get me someone else, right? Like, I mean, if you and I thought it in high school, I mean, like, you can imagine what these guys that are professional hitters are going, just get me. I don't care if the guy throws 102. Just like, get me a different arm. And you know, it's
Yeah.
it's numbers, it's a theory, it's a strategy. I get that's the way baseball's going, but you know, I do think there are going to be times where it just bites you in the ass. It's like shit, we should just let
Yeah.
the guy in. You
Blake
know,
Snell in the World Series. That's
Right.
the key example. As
Yeah.
soon, I mean, the guy coming in, who was it?
Yep.
Nick Anderson. He throws 100, and
Yep.
and like you could just see the Dodgers be like, "Oh my God, thank God,
thank God, thank God.
They're just
Thank
teeing
God.
off on him.
There's just sometimes there's that guy that you just can't figure out. But and I feel like to Sean's point, the more and more baseball gets specialized with these guys that are, you got you got the setup guy, the closer, then you got kind of the high leverage seventh inning guy, and there's so many defined roles. So you've got players lined up that you really want in the game at that time. And then on top of that, you've got all this like innings management, the NBA calls it load management, where you know that you've only got so many pitches in that arm, so many innings, and you're managing to, if I want to get 30 starts and I only have so many innings, I want him on the mound, then I can only let him go 6, because if you go 7, next time he goes 5. Like they're playing all these load management games. There's nobody that just goes out there like a Nolan Ryan and just throws until the game is over. Those days are gone. Like, and you even look at like the NBA does load management. Nobody plays every day anymore. You've got, the NFL. There's no such thing as a 4-down running back anymore. Every team has got the 3rd down guy and then the change of pace guy, and there's just those important roles. You don't ride players
Well,
like you used to.
yes and no, but I will say things about in basketball and things in football, in your football analogy, that I think it works in football is because whether you're the 3rd down back or the change of pace guy or the power back, like if you're having yourself a day, you're going to keep getting the ball. What I think baseball does is it's too rigid. It's too strict. It's like, well, we can't put him in the 6th because this is our 6th inning guy.
Right.
And it's like, but he's rolling. Like, throw him back out there for the 6th. He just got through the 5th in 8 pitches. Like, I'd put him
Right.
back out there for the 6th. I don't care if you have a 6th inning guy. And it's crazy because it's like, it's almost like baseball's like, well, this is how we do it now. And now everyone's just like trying to fit it into that box. Like I have no issues with defined roles. In fact, I know we're going to get to the Red Sox in a little bit. I think the Red Sox seem to have a little bit more of defined roles when it comes to bullpen. I don't have an issue with defined roles. I just think like defined role is plan A, but like right below plan A when your starter is rolling, or for that matter, when your long relief guy in the 4th inning comes in, stops the bleeding in the 4th and rolls through the 5th. Why are you taking him out in the 6th?
Yeah.
Like things like that, where it's like have like a sense of the game. Like there's less and less managers now that like have some sense of the game. And I'm wearing the hat and I fucking hate the guy, excuse my language. But I'll tell you, Joe Madden is doing a really good job in LA. I haven't watched a ton of them because they're so late, but like I do the best I can to stay up because it's such a fun team to watch. And like he's like one of those old school managers. I feel like he's doing a nice job of feeling the flow of the game, realizing which guys are hot, realizing kind of which guys to roll with. Buck Showalter does the same thing in New York. We see the start the Mets have gotten off to. Like there's something to be said with these guys that like have been around baseball their entire lives and kind of know how to feel their way through a game, and not just the young kid that understands analytics. Like I almost feel like baseball went too quick in that direction. Not that I'm totally against it, but like let's just pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. No, there's analytics and stats and all that help you make the decisions. But I agree with you, Sean. The managers don't feel game flow anymore. They don't feel the kind of what's going on. They just like, it's almost like the script is predetermined. They're just out there like acting it, but they're not actually putting their own spin on it based on what's going on.
Right. And you got to wonder how much is it the managers don't, and how much is the front office being like, I don't care if you have a feel for the game. This is my plan. And this is what I want you to do. Like, you got to wonder how much of it is kind of one versus the other.
But I mean, it's like, it comes down to me is like, as a teacher, there might be some times where I have a lesson plan and I'm like, this is going to take me 45 minutes. And then I'm like, crap, that took me 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And you have to like change on the fly or like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like if your starter is rolling through 7 or 8 innings or through 5, no hit ball, you're just going to be like, well, it's time to go to the bullpen now.
Right.
Like there's just zero eyeball test anymore. Doug brought up the point, the long relief is now only 2 innings, long relief. But you're not going to see guys like who were we talking about? Mike Marshall, that reliever that won the Cy Young, that pitched like 6 innings every day. Like you're never ever going to see that type again.
That used to be that long bull was always an important bullpen role. That guy's gone. He's been replaced by two other guys that throw 100 for 9 pitches. And now one guy who used to pitch 2 or 3 is replaced by two guys that, can barely get 4 outs each.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's
just a totally
I mean,
different.
I do think
structure.
I think the pendulum's going to have to swing back a little bit in the other direction too, because it's like, it's the new toy that everyone got, right? This whole really running your team by the numbers. It's the new toy, and everyone gets a new toy and they want to play with it, and then they realize that it's really not that much different than all the other toys that they have, and they kind of settle back down. Like, I think the pendulum's gonna have to swing back towards the middle a little bit, just because, like, as a team to survive and not just survive, but to strive for 162 games, like, you can't just rely on the same 4 bullpen guys. Like, you just can't do it, right? And like a guy like Garrett Whitlock, who I love, probably not the best example for me to use right now, but I can't think of anyone else. Like, Garrett Whitlock's going to struggle. He's going to go through a period of time where it's just like, can't locate very well, gives up some bombs, puts the team in a bad spot, right? If you're just going to the same guy in the 7th inning, like, the only difference I have is the closer, because your closer is your closer. That's the guy you go to. You got to be able to develop these different kind of arms. They don't all have to be Garrett Whitlock, but they all have to be able to come in, especially now where you have to throw at least 3 batters, right? Isn't that the rule? Is it 3 or 4?
Yep, 3.
3.
Like, you have to have lefties that can get out righties. You have to have righties that can get out lefties. You have to be able to do it. I agree with Doug again, trying to play the matchup game too much. Like, just develop these guys. I don't care if they throw 102 or 96. If it's 96 and you can actually pitch and find ways to get guys out, I'll take that over 102 and you're going to cock one right down the middle for a guy to launch into outer space. Like, 102 doesn't scare anybody in Major League Baseball. Like, these guys aren't scared by triple digits anymore.
No.
You have to be able to pitch. You see it every single day. So, to me, it's if you're going to take out a starter in the 5th inning, especially in the month of April when it's early. It's early in April, and they didn't have a full spring training. If you're going to take a pitcher out in the 5th inning after he's pitching well, but you're going to use the 6th inning and the 7th inning to continue to get these young guys innings and let them develop and things like that, I'm fine with it. But if you're taking out a guy that's rolling in the 6th inning only to put in your 7th inning guy because that's what the numbers tell you to do, I think it's wrong. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I just don't agree with it.
I mean, Kershaw was at 76 pitches through 7.
I know, dude.
Crying out loud.
I know.
It's not like if he was up around 85, 90 pitches. He still had probably another inning. The way he was dealing, another inning or 2 left. And guess what? That's the end of the ball game.
For sure.
I mean, to take him out at 76 pitches with a guy that's done it for so long, it is criminal. And I understand the injury problems he's had. Like, they want to keep him healthy. I get all that, but that was brutal. Yeah. Anyways, so that was leading up. So we're going to move on to 5th inning, where we're going to talk about some of the best matchups of last week. We'll talk about some of the future matchups that we're looking forward to this week. I have Mets Cardinals. We all kind of knew what happened there. The Mets are the only team that have won every single series so far this year.
Yep.
Which that is insane.
In a few of the series wins, and I'm thinking about the first Phillies one and then the Nationals one that opened it up, should have been sweeps. I mean, they should have swept the first 2 series of the season. So, I mean, I think the Cardinals going out to St. Louis and playing the Cardinals at Busch, or is it still called Busch? What's it called now? Is it a different name?
Probably.
They all change names every 2 years.
Life.com Minute Maid Park at St. Louis.
Going out there playing, that's a good ball club. Like, that's a good baseball team. I know they're not, Milwaukee's in front of that division right now, but that was a good test. And not just the Mets didn't just stand up. I mean, they were better than the St. Louis Cardinals. They were a better baseball team. They had tough games that it was, no runs going into the 8th inning, and they find a way to get some real timely clutch hitting. The bullpen shows up. Starting pitching has continued to be awesome. Buck, I think, has made every move has been the right move, whether it be pitching, going to the bullpen, pinch hitting, putting guys, pinch running with a guy like Jankowski off the bench. Everything has seemed to work. And I mean, they're just playing first month of the season. They're just playing really, really good ball, and they haven't played, dog crap ball clubs. Like they've played good ball clubs, and they've been fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that whole, I mean, we'll get into that bench clear, I think, in a little bit.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I was looking forward to that series. Mets, Cardinals, two top division teams. I was definitely looking for that matchup. That's good. How about for you, Harrison? Anyone that stuck out?
Yeah, I think the Phillies at Mets series, that was good. It was telling, if Philadelphia's legitimate or not, if they're a contender or not. They stayed in most of the games, but I don't think it was like super competitive.
No.
I liked the Toronto Houston series. I thought that was interesting. Toronto's definitely moved itself into that upper echelon of the league. They handled Houston pretty well. Some close games, but they were they held leads basically throughout, and Houston was kind of struggling to get anything going. Houston, I can't figure them out. That's a better roster than it looks like they're playing. But I think in the end they'll figure it out. But it was nice to see Toronto, another test for Toronto. They continue to show that they are definitely the one of the top in the AL.
Yeah. And they got a test again with the Yankees this week. Yep. So we'll see.
Because they handled the Yankees before this kind of streak started. So I'll be curious if they can handle the Yanks now they've warmed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean? Any other series besides those ones that?
I mean, going into it, I Sox Toronto at the beginning of the week was an interesting one in the sense of Red Sox had a chance to slow start, but go up to Toronto and maybe make a stake a little bit. And I think blowing that game, was it the second game of the series, was kind of it for the series. Like, I know they came back and won 7-1 the next, but if they win that game the way they should have won that game, and then let's say the next game still happens and they took 2 out of the first 3 by closing it out late and then winning 7-1, like that's huge for a team like that to go into Toronto and do that. And like the series I thought was important. Still, I mean, there's still plenty of baseball to go. Don't get me wrong, but I was a bit of a disappointment. And then I will say the other one in the middle of the week that I enjoyed watching a little bit of was Seattle going into Tampa Bay. Tampa took 2 out of 3, but they were all 1-run games.
Yeah.
And they were all low score. Like I think they were all 2-1, 3-2, and one I think was 4-3. I'll have to go back and check. But they were all 1-run games. And don't look now, but I mean, Seattle's legit. Mm-hmm. Seattle's a good ball club.
Like, they're waking up.
Julio hit his first bomb of the year.
Dude, crushed. Did you see what he did after the game, which was wicked classy? So the fan was like a 12-year-old kid, and he met Julio Rodriguez in the concourse after the game and gave him his first home run ball back. And,
that's awesome.
And then Julio signed a bat and a ball for him, and really thanked him. Like, I mean, that's what the game's about right there.
For sure.
Julio's still a kid himself. You hit your first major league home run, and you get the ball back like that. Like, it was really cool.
But yeah, and I gotta eat my words a little bit, at least for the first month of the season. I didn't think Robbie Ray was going to go up to Seattle and keep doing what he did last year. But I mean, holy moly, this guy looks awesome. He looks awesome.
I was in the same boat. I was vocally not a fan and expected him to fall flat on his face.
I mean, I didn't think he'd be a bum, but I'm sitting there going he'll come back to earth. He'll be like a above average pitcher. Blah. I mean, he looks dominant. Not just the numbers, but when you watch him, he's dominating. He looks awesome on the mound for Seattle. So that's a legitimate ball club. And I'll tell you, with the way the Angels are playing, talented team. They seem like they got everything rolling. Of course, Mike Trout's healthy, and that certainly helps. But Houston might be looking at third place in that division right now.
Yeah.
As far as finishing, not like where they are now. I'm saying finishing the division.
Yep.
Long way to go, obviously. But so yeah, that was really the other one I added was Tampa, Seattle. Seattle's been that kind of sneaky team for me that, when they're on, I kind of always try and keep an eye on them. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't think the Astros have the rotation to really get them that deep, to be honest. Verlander's 87 at this point. You got Framber Valdez he's nice.
Fine. He's fine.
Right, he's fine. Same thing with the rocking horse, whatever that line, Luis Garcia, whatever that abomination is. I mean, they're okay on the mound. They just don't have that one dominant pitcher anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure Verlander can still go out and deal one game here or
Yeah.
there, but I mean,
he's coming off Tommy John. He's not a young man anymore. But
right.
I will say the one thing in defense of Houston, they've played 22 games played, 16 games against teams over 500.
Yeah.
The Angels have
tough
played.
start.
Yeah, Angels have played 24 games, only 9 against teams over 500.
Yeah.
And Seattle's played 13 games, teams over 500. So,
Right.
they're a couple games back, but in reality, they've played a significantly tougher schedule than the guys in front of them.
No question. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
that's why,
even out.
like I say with Houston, that roster is better than they've played. They have had a tough start. They do have a lot of, I would say, newer pieces. Pena, Verlander back. Some young pitchers who are stepping into bigger roles. Tucker in the outfield. Like, you've got some young guys who are taking bigger roles on that roster. There's definitely a learning curve as they come together, but they've had a difficult start to the season, and they've held their own. So I think they'll be there in the end, but it's not going to be the cakewalk it has been.
Kyle Tucker's hands are insane. That kid can flat out mash.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen some of the
he can.
And I love that he's a barehanded hitter too. I love all those guys that hit barehanded. Like, I hate batting gloves, but yeah, dude, that kid is legit. And then Yordan Alvarez is finally getting on the field, and he's hitting too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
That guy's a monster. We've talked about him before. That guy is crazy.
Yep. And
okay.
I guess one other point along those same lines is that the two teams that have played the fewest games against teams over 500, the Rockies have played 3 games in 22 against teams over 500. 3.
Yikes.
And they're 13-9, playing basically a cupcake schedule, and they're a -6 run differential. So they've played easy teams. They're getting outscored, but they've got a winning record. The other interesting one is the Yankees have only played 4 games against teams over 500.
Yeah,
so
they
haven't beat a team over 500 in this entire streak.
Right. That's what I was gonna put that in when we talked about the Red Sox, because I think I think the Red Sox need to be better. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, I think looking at the Yankees, nine in a row they've won?
9 in a row.
10? 9 in a row. I mean, it's been Baltimore, Kansas City. I mean, it is not murderer's row, and it is not. It's not a schedule that makes you shake in your boots.
No.
I mean, you're still going to hit the ball. You're still going to make the outs. You're still going to do all that stuff. So, credit in that sense. But, you start putting a team like that, put a little bit of pressure on them against good teams, postseason ball clubs. Let's see how good of a manager Boone is. Let's see how good this lineup really is. Let's see how they can come through with 2 outs and guys on when they're facing legitimate competition. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll shove it up my hoop, and maybe they'll do well. I don't know, but I'm not expecting it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox have had by far the toughest schedule in the East to start off. They've played almost twice as many games against teams over 500 of anybody in the division, except for Baltimore. Baltimore's had a tough schedule. Not that we expect them to be good, but Toronto's got a winning record against 500 teams.
Matchup for Baltimore.
Yeah, well. But Toronto's got a winning record against 500 teams. Tampa Bay's 500. The Sox have gotten crushed by 500 teams, or better than 500 teams. So it's the AL East is it's going to be tough. But I do think that I still think Toronto's the class of the East, and the Yankees have opened some eyes, but they've got to do it against teams that are not rolling over for them.
Yeah. How about that walk-off bunt by the Orioles the other day where Salomir threw it into left field to end the game, huh?
That play.
I mean, that's the kind of thing too, where it's just like I like our manager. I think Core's the right guy. I think the team is better than they've showed what their record is. I think they're better. But good ball clubs don't make those mistakes. Good ball clubs don't throw that ball into left field. And I know it's one game, and I know it's Salomir is he's not a guy they just brought up from AAA. Like, he's a legitimate player. Like, mistakes happen. I get that. But, good ball clubs don't lose games that way.
No.
They just don't. And so that was kind of a difficult one to see, not just because of the loss, but because it leaves a taste in your mouth going, maybe they're not very good. Like maybe there's a team that maybe just don't have it. And I know it's early and I don't fully believe that yet, but that's a kind of loss that kind of makes you, I don't know.
It's cringy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not just that, but he almost catches it on the fly. So the guy from second has to stop. They could have got a double play. They could have had, I mean, if he throws a good Devers, I mean, it's a double play by a mile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking 2 outs, guy on second, and that's a completely different scenario.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
just ugly all around.
Yeah, very much so. Interesting stat though. The Toronto Blue Jays are 9-2 in 1-run games. Best team in baseball in 1-run games.
Yeah, that will do it. When you got Vlad Guerrero in your lineup, that's a pretty big plus to have.
Yeah, and they do such a good job. I obviously have watched every game they've played against the Red Sox, but then I've seen some additional ones, some Yankee games and whatnot. This guy, Vlad Guerrero, I don't know how it happens. He seems to always get up in the 8th or the 9th inning with guys in scoring position when it matters, and I don't think I've ever seen him get out. He either gets walked or he gets a big hit. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And he's always up. He's always up with guys on in 2 outs. It's crazy.
Meanwhile, Corey Seager's getting walked with the bases loaded.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in the 4th inning.
Stupid. But let's pitch to Guerrero. I think that's terrible.
Yeah, why not? What could happen?
Goodness. How about upcoming series for this week, fellas? What do we got?
You can go, Harris.
Yeah, so there's a bunch this week that I think are going to be good.
During
the week.
Right. Yeah.
The weekend is junk. I mean, maybe find something else on TV, but during the week you've got San Fran at the Dodgers. I think that's going to be a good series. You got the 2 NL West heavyweights battling it out. I think Seattle Houston will be good. Those 2 teams are, I feel like, really evenly matched. And nice to see them play in the division. Yankees Blue Jays going on right now.
Yeah.
And then you got Atlanta and the Mets. I'll be curious to see just how far off Atlanta is. They have definitely not started as strong as I thought they would. They lost Rosario right out of the gate. They've been, Charlie Morton's not been good. He's really struggled for them. Matt Olson is raking, but really other than him, Acuna coming back should help. But I feel like that Braves team is in a bit of a tailspin at the moment, and I'll be curious to see what they do against the Mets.
Yeah. I have the Angels and Sox just because we finally get to watch a West Coast team in East Coast time. So that will be fun and kind of see them and, Trout at Fenway could always
And if I saw correctly, Syndergaard's pitching in that series, right?
It could be.
I didn't look at tomorrow night, Syndergaard versus Waka.
I was going to say, and I think Ohtani's Wednesday, isn't he?
If he comes back, he left yesterday.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he's day-to-day right now.
Yeah, right now the pitcher is to be determined. They're not going to name him the starter yet. Yeah, it's TBD versus Whitlock.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know Ohtani. Was it injury pitching or playing the field or hitting? I didn't see.
I didn't. I think it was just like a hamstring, tightness or something like that. I think.
Gotcha.
All right. I don't know if it was running or groin. That's groin.
What it was. Yeah, it was.
Well, then he's probably not playing, man. I mean,
he left with groin tightness as a precaution.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that shit. Jesus. Yeah. I mean, you push that too early. He could be out till after the All-Star break.
You could be Nomar Garciaparra and just rip it off your hip bone.
Oh,
dude, groins are no joke.
Yeah, especially mine. Anyways, moving on.
They're going to take it easy with him. Jesus.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're not going to rush Ohtani back for sure.
No.
I mean,
no.
Where the Angels are sitting right now, there's no reason to.
You got off. Yep, you got off to the start you got off to, and because of that, you have the luxury of just taking it easy with a guy like Ohtani.
Yeah.
So you've earned that.
Absolutely. And then the Rangers. What are we thinking about the Rangers here? I mean, should they be better than their record? Should they? I mean,
here's my thing.
I don't know.
I've watched a couple Ranger games. I think you look at the Rangers on paper; they're talented. Simeon hasn't really done much. I think Corey Seager's starting to look a little bit more like Corey Seager at the plate. They have a lot of new players. That's an entirely new roster than you've seen for the past couple of years with the Texas Rangers. I just think maybe, and this is maybe I'm being naive, and maybe it's because I don't know, but I just think that's a team. Like, do I think they're going to win the division? No. But do I think they're better than they are now? Yeah, and I think they'll play that way. I think they just got to learn how to play together. Every time I feel like I feel like they're playing a good team. I feel like they're one of those teams that have played like pretty decent schedule in the sense of like
they've played 16 of their 22 games against teams over 500.
Yeah, so that's a new ball club, essentially. All playing together for the first time. Not easy competition you're playing against, and one of your two big names is hitting like $112.
Yeah,
right.
So
a lot of pressure to live up to those contracts.
Yeah, and so I think they'll be better. They're good players. I mean, Simeon is a good ball player. Corey Seager's a really good ball player. Unfortunately, I don't think any kind of postseason is in their future, unless they just win the month of like June. But we'll see. But I think they'll be better. I think they'll be better. I think they're a good ball club.
I picked the Angels to take that wild card spot. I felt like the Rangers would be right on their heels. I feel like the Rangers are a good team. There's only 5 teams in the AL that have scored more runs than them, and they've played the second most games against teams over 500 in the whole league.
That's crazy.
So like they've scored nearly 100 runs already this season. They got 96 runs scored.
Crazy.
And they've only been outscored by the opponent by 6 runs. So they're 8-14, a 6-run differential, and they've played nothing but good teams. Like I agree with Sean.
They've scored that many runs with Simeon being out of the
Right.
lineup, essentially batting with 8 guys.
How much does baseball
lineup
suck?
That lineup can mash. Like those guys are going to hit. Their pitching is still not great. They still lack, consistency there. But when
John Gray got hurt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. But when you give them a chance to play teams like the Orioles, the Royals, this is the kind of team that could rip off a 9-game win streak just like the Yankees have, because they're going to score runs. They're going to score every night. Doesn't matter who the pitcher is. It's just a matter of can they give up fewer than they score, and that's they remind me in their construction a lot of the Yankees. If they outscore you, great, but they're not necessarily going to outpitch you every night.
No, but still, that's crazy. Only a +/-6 differential, and they're 8-14. Dude, how much does baseball suck?
That's the Red Sox.
Think about
the
that.
Red Sox are at -9 for run differential. The Red Sox are not. They're not -20 something. They're -9.
Right.
And they're the same way. Like that's why I feel like we see the Sox every day. Harrison and I live in the market. Nick, obviously you're down in North Carolina now, but like you grew up in the market. Like if the Red Sox are not 18 games up ahead in first place at all times, like
no one's
the Boston market goes crazy, right?
It's
like do
terrible.
I think they've played well? No, I think they've played quite poorly. I think the offense has been terrible. Xander's hitting 290 or 390 something, and that's about it. I mean, they have the least home runs, like I feel like in baseball. They haven't hit a home run in God knows how long, aside from
Arroyo was the first one in Baltimore in like a week.
For Christ's sakes, the slugging percentage has been terrible. The hitting with runners in scoring position has been even worse, and yet they're -9 in the run differential.
Yeah.
So they are in these games.
There's only 4 teams in the American League that have scored fewer runs than the Red Sox. Their offense is putrid,
anemic,
and their pitching. The sad part in the last 2 weeks when their offense has been so bad, their pitching's actually been really good. Their offense has just been awful,
without a doubt. And let's put it, with as bad as the offense has been, they were 2 walk-off losses away from going 5-5 on that 10-game road trip. And the offense did exactly what they did, and they were 2 blown bullpen from going 5-5. So, I mean, are they that far off? No. Like, they're not.
Right.
They're not. There's the guys can play. Devers can be more consistent. I thought he got off to a real good start the first couple weeks of the season, has really kind of been inconsistent since then. JD really hasn't really been able to play. I mean, like anytime he gets on the field, it's COVID, and then I don't know what the hell, and Verdugo, I love Verdugo. I love him now being in the 2-hole. I think that was a great move by Cora to get him kind of more at bats to the start of the game. And he's getting on base. He's hitting. He's one of the few guys on the team that's not really striking out. I mean, the strikeout numbers are through the roof.
Yeah,
it's
but
bad.
It's the power. They got to get the doubles. They got to get the home runs, and they'll get there. I really do. The team is too talented offensively to not get there. But the problem is it going to be too little too late in the sense of the offense picks it up right when the pitching starts to suck, and now you're losing games 9-8 instead of losing games 3-2. But we'll see.
Yeah. Let's jump to the player of the week, Nick. Let's go back and dive into the Sox.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to unpack there. It's been a really weird start to the year.
Yeah, definitely. So player of the week, we got AL Taylor Ward, 10 RBIs, 11 runs, hit 448. And then
I swear to
that
God,
good?
every box score I picked up, Taylor Ward had a home run and 2 RBIs. Like, I swear to
had
God, every box
multi-hit-
score I looked at.
multi-hit games. He had 4 out of his 7 games were multi-hit games. He had a multi-home run game, and then 2 days later hit a grand slam. So have a week, dude.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's all right. Willie Adames for the NL, 4 home runs,
Yeah.
1.203 OPS. In one game against the Pirates, he had 4 hits, 2 homers, 7 RBIs. I mean, that's player of the week status in one game.
What's amazing? So Ward actually got off to he was backed up by a week and a half because of an injury. He's got 22 hits in the season. He's in the top 10 in hits, and he missed the first 9 days of the season with an injury.
Yeah, crazy. So,
I mean, oh Christ! Carolina just scored. God damn it! The Bruins are dominating this game too. Absolutely dominating this game. Hit a couple of posts. Get out of here. Absolutely.
Amazing how quickly you forget where you're from, Nick.
I know.
I know.
I'll never
exactly.
not root against the Bruins, but dude, the Canes
You're
have
rooting
been.
against them right now, guy.
Well, yeah, but like I'll never I don't know, not fully hate.
It's funny how just talking about the Ward dude. It's funny how like hitting a baseball to me is like the single most difficult thing to do in sports.
Yep.
I'm not talking to you, Siri. The single most difficult thing to do in sports is hitting a baseball, and this guy is top 10 or top 5 in the league.
Yeah.
Top 10.
Top 10 in the league, the best professional baseball league in the world. He's top 10 by only playing a fraction of the games. Like, that's pretty goddamn special. It's the hardest thing to do in the world is to hit a baseball. It's the hardest thing to do in the world.
Yeah.
Well, that was like Quan start off the season. I mean, I don't think anybody can get that guy up for like the first week.
Dude, no one can get him to swing and miss. I saw a stat. It was like
the
first
right,
time
swing and miss.
It was like 130 something swings without a miss. And
Right.
I think it was like there was a Yankee meme where the pitcher, it was the first one that got Stephen Kwan to swing and miss. But it was like his stat line was like gave up 6 runs on whatever. And it's like, but biggest accomplishment, Stephen Kwan swung and missed twice.
That's
It's
awesome.
And the only reason he's not hitting is because he's hurt. I mean, that was like the best thing that happened to the American League was that guy getting hurt.
Yeah. Well, the best thing that happened to the Twins for sure. The Twins went on kind of a bit of a run there, and they're ahead of that division now.
Yeah, they came back to life for sure. They were, the last 10 games, the Twins are 9-1.
When Byron Buxton is healthy, I think he's making his case for like, hey, I'm in the MVP talks. I mean, he is making case, and it's not the home runs necessarily. It's just like how goddamn hard he hits the ball every time. Every time it's on the screws, he doesn't mishit it. It's unbelievable.
And he's fast as hell.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
It is crazy.
And he's the guy now, like
insanely talented.
The Twins become a team that when they're on, you're just like, oh, I'm going to keep checking back to when Buxton's up. You almost have to like keep going back to when he's up because you're going to miss something.
Yeah.
Even the outs, and they're just screamers out to left field, or just absolutely warning track bombs to left center. It's like Jesus Christ. I mean, the Red Sox are popping up to shortstop, and this guy's just pummeling gap shots.
Yeah. Well, another team that really came on strong of late is the Padres. I mean, that's a team that started off pretty uneven, and now they're running up right behind the Dodgers. They've won 7 of their last 10, and
you put Hosmer at the middle/top of that lineup. He's hitting 420 something. I mean, that helps.
Oh man.
The top 2 guys in the league in batting average are him and Manny Machado. God damn it, 2-0.
Let's go.
The top 2 hitters in the National League are Hosmer and Machado.
Well, and I love the fact that to begin the season, it was Machado basically screamed at the front office not to trade Hosmer, and here those two guys are lighting everything up. And I mean, if this team is in really good shape when Tatis gets back, boy, they could be dangerous. Picking up Manaea was huge. I mean, that is a really good team.
Yeah.
If they're doing what they're doing when Tatis comes back, I mean, that's going to be the equivalent of a big time blockbuster trade deadline trade, essentially
Right.
getting him back to kind of join the middle of that and give a boost to that lineup into the middle of that infield. I mean, that could be a hell of a boost.
Yeah.
So if you guys had to guess right now blindly who had the most runs scored in the league, which team do you think it is?
Most runs
Is it
scored
still
in the league?
Oakland?
Nope, not Oakland. Oakland
Not
fell
Oakland.
fell way off last week.
I mean, the
Yeah.
way Jose Ramirez was hitting, I was gonna say the Guardians.
They're in the top 5.
You said Texas is also in there.
Yeah, Texas is just
Hey,
behind.
what the hell?
Guardians.
Pittsburgh Pirates.
No, it's the friggin' Los Angeles Angels. The Angels have
Angels.
outscored the entire league.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's impressive.
If anybody had that bet on May 1st that the Angels were going to lead the league in runs, I hope it paid out well.
I mean, we've talked about it. They've had a decent lineup. Like, it's not like they put slouches out there, but they just never had the pitching to really back them
or
up.
the health.
Like,
Or the health.
or the health, right?
Or the health. They're
That's
always
for
So-
sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
I mean, and Trout's doing what Trout does. He's hitting
Yeah.
344 with 6 bombs and 11 RBIs. No big
dude,
deal.
not just bombs, dude. Those ones he's hit
Bombs.
have been like 480 plus. Like,
Ridiculous.
special home runs. Like there's special home runs.
yeah.
And they're loud. I mean, my God, he
Oh.
hits the ball loud.
I would just once in my life listen to him hit live and like
Oh.
square him up. Like, I want to feel it. Like, I don't want to see it. I want to feel it when
Unreal.
it comes off a bat.
Yeah, I caught him at Fenway probably 4 or 5 years ago at during BP, and I was behind home plate. I've never heard the crack of the bat that sounds like that. I mean, it
Oh,
literally looks like an
no.
explosion.
Yeah, guys like that are just different. Like they're
Mhm.
it's just different. And it's like, a guy like, I don't know, a guy like Bogarts could step up and smoke a ball, and you're like, wow, that was smoke. And then Trout steps in, and it's like, it's just different. It just sounds different.
It's
It
so
looks
loud.
different. It's just different.
My dad and I went to the Red Sox and Angels playoff game. It was game 3, and we got there early because I wanted to watch batting practice. And Vlad Guerrero Sr. was in the
Mm.
box. And I just stopped. And my dad's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Just stand here and watch this guy for 3 minutes." And like, he's just monster, like just gone. Like, and the same thing, right? That special, just like
It's just different.
massive manpower. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to rounding third. I slacked this week. I did not throw out a question, so I'm gonna throw this question out. We kind of already touched on it. We're gonna bring it up, and I want to see what you guys think. Are the Red Sox too far out this early to right the ship? They're a half game out of last place. Will they turn it around and make a playoff push? I mean, I don't know. I want to have faith. I want to say that they're going to be there, but with the Blue Jays and if the Yankees are like this, the Red Sox aren't even going to come close. And you have the Rays there you're competing with too.
But you said playoff spot, not for division.
Right.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, hell
You're
will
telling me
freeze over
4
before these
teams are
guys
going to
win the
come out of the
division.
AL East? There's
No,
zero
no,
chance
but what
of
I'm
that.
no. Hold on.
Okay,
No.
all right.
I think I think I mean, again, I still don't think it's too late for the division. I think they have to right the ship now. You look at their schedule. We talked about the difficult schedule that they had in April. Aside from the Angels coming in here tomorrow night, May should give them an opportunity. May should give them an opportunity to put some wins together, to win some series, to build some confidence, to get the boys a little bit more consistent at the plate. May should give them an opportunity to do that. Now, if they don't do it, if we're sitting here on June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd, and they haven't right the ship, then I'm probably going to sit there and tell you, yeah, it's too late. May gives them the opportunity. We talked about it earlier. They have a -9 run differential. The pitching's been good. The bullpen for the most part has been good. The back end of the bullpen is not. They got to figure that out. It's the offense. The offense is better than what they are.
Yeah.
Kike's better than this. Devers is better than this. JD is certainly better than this, right? You're not getting much from the bottom. I don't know what you like. Do you take a run at Robinson Cano? I don't know. He just got He just got, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think outside the box here.
No, I hear you.
Bottom, because I think they got to figure out something with the bottom of the order, because you're not getting anything out of first base. You're not really getting anything out of your catcher position, and you're not getting anything really out of Jackie Bradley, who isn't actually been as bad as I expected. So I do expect him to go on a real cold streak any day now.
Well, let's hang on. I mean, he's hitting $147. I mean, so.
Oh, is it gone that bad? Is it gone that?
Oh,
bad?
he hasn't gotten a hit in like 4 days, I think.
He was up at like 2. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, his average has gone.
And they finally DFA'd Travis Shaw. Like,
so it's I saw that.
God
Yeah,
bless him.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, dude.
So I guess to my long answer to the question is it too late for the Red Sox? No, I don't think it's too late. I think we're going to find out pretty soon, because I think really after we get through this Angels series, I think the rest of May it gives you the, hey, we got to make a run here. And last, real quick, one, I do think I love Cora. I will always love Cora, and I'm the in Cora we trust kind of guy. I love him. I think he's really good with these players. I think he knows baseball. I do think they need some defined roles in the bullpen, though, like in the sense of like the back end of the bullpen. Like, who's your closer? Is it Diekman? Is it Robles? Is it putting Whitlock back in there? Is it Strom? Like, who's the closer? And I'm not saying like you can never deviate from it. I'm not saying that, but like I do think these guys would benefit a little bit from knowing, hey, like this is it. Like I'm the guy they're going to. Not like, oh, well, it's a high leveraged 7th, so we're going to go to Robles, and then we'll just figure out the 8th. And then if we get through the 8th, we'll figure out the 9th. Like, I don't think that's the way to go. Again, not to say you can ever deviate from it, but I do think they could use a little bit of the guys in the bullpen themselves. I think could use a little bit of stability in the sense of like, I know where I stand. I'm the 7th inning guy. Or if they're going to a high leverage 6th, it's Strom. Or if they go into a high leverage 7th, it's Diekman. And then you get to the 8th and it's Robles, and you get to the 9th and it's Whitlock, or whatever it is. I do think that, because again, we were 2 blown saves away from going 5-5 on that 10-game road trip, which the offense didn't show up to at all. Right. So, I mean, 2 bad 9th innings, or a 9th and then a 10th, but 2 bad blown saves away from 5-5. And then, I mean, if they went 5-5 on that, and I mean, are we talking about if it's too late? I mean, they're there. They're there. They're not getting blown out of these games. Yeah,
I guess. I don't know. I just feel like the eyeball test, like even if we went 5-5, I don't know. They're just not doing it for me right now. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. I don't know what the issue is really. I think you're right with the bullpen, as in like you need to have some sort of stability. Like these guys need to know like what kind of situation they're going to go in, day in and day out. I think that helps a lot, like.
Well, yeah. And I
like it's like me going to school and being like, oh, hey, you're teaching 2nd grade today, or like, hey, you got the kindergartners today. Like it's like, it's kind of like that thing. They have no idea what they're going to do.
And then it's also, but and then someone from the outside being like, well, Nick, you have your teaching degree. You should be able to do. And it's like, yeah, I can do it, but I'm comfortable if I know what I'm going into.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And like Brazier, right? Like Brazier's ERA, I think, is the most Houdini kind of number, because Brazier's ERA is fairly low. I don't think he's gotten out an inherited runner. I think every inherited runner
he's got a 2.57 ERA.
But I think every inherited runner has scored when he's been on the mound.
Every time that guy takes the mound, I change this. I can't watch that guy. He is terrible.
But so here's the thing, and Cora, but like smart baseball guy, like you got to know that. Why do we keep bringing him in with guys on second base?
I don't.
They all score. They all score. It's crazy. But yet, if you bring him in for a clean inning, he typically will have a clean inning.
I think I posted something the other day, and I was like, for the love of God, stop putting Ryan Brazier on the mound. Like, just stop. It's every high leverage situation. There he is, and there he is giving up 2 runs, 3 runs.
But it's really the inherited runners.
Yeah. Yeah, for the love of God, stop putting Ryan Brazier on the mound. And
the one thing that I think, and I don't know, I'm sure there's been internal conversations between the coaching staff, the manager, the front office people, whatever. I feel like they don't have an approach at the plate. I feel like there's no team approach. Yeah. It's just guys are kind of going up there and they're just trying to get on base. It's like everyone kind of feels this fog of like struggle and pressure. And it's just like, it doesn't matter where you are in the lineup. Like you get up there and it's just like, all right, like I got to try and make it happen. I got to try and rope this double, or I got to try and lift off over the fence, or I got to get the boys going with a big home run. And it's like, there doesn't seem to be any like approach at the plate.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, and Story is, and I love him and I love the signing and I'm not going to give up on the guy right now. It's been 1 month into the season, but putting him up at the top of the lineup, I think was more about putting Kike down and less about moving Story up. Right. But they put him up there and the strikeout numbers are crazy. It's like he's
pressing for sure.
Oh, he's at least 2 strikeouts a game. And I do think a lot of the ones he's missing so many high fastballs. I think he's just trying for that first home run. I really think he's just pressing so bad for that first one in a Sox uniform, really get the monkey off the bat kind of situation. And it's just leading to some ugly at bats.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if they just need to kind of refocus as a group overall and just say, hey, this is what we do. This is our approach. We're gonna be absolute pricks to pitch against. Right, we're just going to be an itch in your nutbag. We're going to foul off tough pitches. We're going to work walks, like whatever. Like not everyone has to be a home run hitter or hit the like. You got guys that will do that, and you get guys on in front of them, and I do think it's going to start to happen. But I don't know. I just think they need a little more kind of honed in approach at the plate.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole like Major League Baseball mentality right now. It's just swing from your touch hole every single time and hope you connect.
Absolutely.
But
it's not working for them. So I think at a certain point you got to regroup and say, hey, it's not working for us. Let's go back to the drawing board.
I'll be interested to see what people say. I mean, I agree with you. I think the month of May definitely tells us a lot. It is still early. I get that, but I mean, you can't get 10 games back in the AL East. You'll never recover.
No,
you
agreed.
get 10 games back and you're out. You're done.
Agreed. I mean, there's 7.5. It's not quite 10, but
well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, right, yeah. But I'm saying, we get to May, let's regroup here. Let's go on a little bit of a run in May. If you go into June and you're 3.5, 4 games out, it's a whole new ballgame. It's a whole new ballgame. And I definitely think the opportunity is there. I mean, we talk about the Red Sox schedule getting a little bit more. I mean, I got to imagine the Yankee schedule in May gets a little bit harder considering what they just went through in April. So, you have to think that they come back to earth a little bit. I do think, Toronto's the team that scares you because they've played a hard schedule and they still they're really goddamn good. They're just a really, really good baseball team. So, but, we'll see. I think May holds a lot of answers and, hopefully we can get the right ones.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. We're going to head home now and we got some topics here to cover. First one is laughable because your Cincinnati Reds are 3-19. 3-19. Like, I mean, come on.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, it is embarrassing. Like, what is that on pace for? 22. I mean, that's what, barely 20 wins? I mean, like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Seriously, I like, God, that's bad.
It's awful. And then I don't know if you've watched, like, they're hard to watch, but
I haven't even looked, to be honest, because
it's just ugly. Like, it's ugly. Like, they're not losing close games. They're not fighting their way back into games, and then it's just not good.
That's a 16% win percentage. It's a 160 win percentage.
Sheesh.
I was trying to do the math real quick. 162 times 0.16. They're on pace for 26 wins.
26 wins. Wow. Selling them short.
Goodness gracious, that's bad. That is so horrendous. Yeah, crazy. Then we'll move on to Clayton Kershaw set the all-time Dodger record for strikeouts this week. Is he the best Dodger pitcher of all time? Yes. No.
Up there.
I think absolutely.
I think an argument could be made.
Yeah. Could you give me somebody that beat him? Possibly.
Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only guy I think you can make the argument for.
Yeah, I mean,
Fernando
I think the
Valenzuela.
thing with Sandy is, and we've talked about. I mean, it was 4 or 5 good years out of an 8-year career
Yeah.
for Koufax. I mean, the years were dominant, and I do think there's an argument there.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, Kershaw, I think, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, certainly in my lifetime, no doubt about that. I think our lifetime, he's certainly the best Dodger pitcher. But yeah, I'd say he's up there for sure.
Yeah, was it 2009-63, I think is what his total was at? Something like that, if I remember right. That's just a stab in the dark.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
That's a lot of Ks.
That's a lot of pairs of shoes walking back to the dugout there. That's
crazy. And then going back to college real quick, Ryan Ramsey for the Maryland Terrapins threw a perfect game in college this week. Pretty cool. Just saw the highlights of that. So just to bring back a little bit of college talk. And then do we want to touch on the volunteer fireman real quick?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Might as well.
So, I mean, we talked about him a little bit before we came on the podcast. He was registered this week at what? 105.5?
105.5, yeah, against Auburn. Who, sneaky, my Auburn Tigers, War Eagle, sneaky snuck into the top 20 at 19 overall.
Oh.
It's a team that started the season unranked, and they just win series. They just go SEC ball, and they just win series. So that's a good club.
Yeah.
But, Ben Joyce, 105.5, crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Dude, it's college.
I have a theory, but I don't want to be the guy that shits all over everyone's parade.
Nope, let's do it. That's what we do.
All of his 105.5, 104.9, 103, whatever, they're all at home. Like, and I'm not saying that's like they're made up, but like maybe we're juicing the gun a little bit when Ben Joyce gets on the mound. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just an asshole. I don't know. But do it for me on the road. Go to like Arkansas, Fayetteville, and like do it there, or like go to Auburn, Alabama, and like do it on the road on a gun, and then maybe I might. Not to say again, it's not true, but maybe it was 104 and they made it 105.5, which again, I mean, it's just crazy. It's ridiculous.
To Alabama's defense, they might not have the technology to clock pitches.
Easy.
Just saying.
We're huge down in Alabama. You didn't know that? This is weird. Our main fan base is in the state of Alabama.
All 3 people that are listening right now?
You didn't know? Yeah, they're all in Alabama.
Yeah. Our viewers.
Yeah, dude. 105.5 is crazy though. Again,
it is nuts.
It's nuts. I mean, to throw a baseball 105.5 miles an hour is insane. So good for him.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be a catcher anymore. I'd be like, coach, like I think I did something to my knee. I'm out. Like, I can't even imagine trying to catch 105.5.
I would never call for a fastball down in the zone just for fear it'd hit the plate and skip.
Well, not just that, but I mean, you got to catch that perfectly. You're breaking fingers if you don't catch that thing perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly every time. And I'm sure, I haven't watched a lot of Ben Joyce. I'm sure it's got some movement on it too. Because all those guys
when you're throwing 105.5.
But like with the analytics and the way they hold the grip, like they all put a little bit of tail or a little bit of kind of cut on it.
Imagine catching that on the thumb right there.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
thumb sprain, done.
I'd retire then and there. In the middle of the at-bat, I'd be like, I'm retiring from baseball.
Yeah, done. I don't remember what game it was, but there was a metal bat that broke last week too.
Oh, in college?
Kid got fisted and the barrel of bat went flying.
No
dude,
kidding.
The whole infield was like this. I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
Florida.
Was it Florida?
Oh, no, hang on.
It sounded right. Maybe not.
Oh, looks like, that might have been from end of last season.
Yeah, there was one last week. I'm pretty sure it happened, but I was like, dang. That's scary. I've had that happen once when I was in college. We were playing. It was snowing out. Kid got it off the end of the bat, and the barrel just comes flying at me. And I was like, no.
Brutal.
Thanks. Yeah.
So you remember Brian Wilson, the pitcher for the Giants, the beard, the crazy guy? Well, he's from New Hampshire, so I used to play against him once a year when he pitched for Londonderry. And he snapped remember those 2-piece barrels, the 2-piece bats at the barrel?
The connections, Easton connections?
Yeah, the connections. He snapped one of those and sent it over my head at third base into left field. Like, snapped it clean off. He had just gotten back from the Pan Am games where he'd gone like 3-0 with like a -0.7 ERA.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then he literally snapped the head off a connection bat and sent it into left field over my head. He was a freak back in high school.
It sounds
That's
like it.
wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look him up. Brian Wilson from Londonderry, New Hampshire. He was he was, every U.S. team there was from the time he was 15 on, he played on.
Crazy.
Wow. Good for him.
So let's kind of get into this, that the Mets Cardinals brawl this week. It started with a pitch up and into Arenado, correct? And then it
started with the Mets being hit 3 times in that game.
Oh, right.
Once
Lindor got hit in the head, right?
No, Lindor got hit in the head earlier in the season. So it was
okay, gotcha.
Alonso got hit in the head. And then they had was it Nimmo? Someone, I think maybe Nimmo got hit, and then Marte. I don't know. Pete Alonso in the head was the big one. That was the big one, and then it was Cardinals when it was 10-5. Cardinals went on this big run in this like 4th and 5th inning, and I was watching the game live, and Ron Darling was doing the game on the Mets broadcast, and he said once the 3rd Met got hit, I can't remember which one it was, but the 3rd Met got hit, and he said, Jeff McNeil. It's Jeff McNeil. And he said, this could get ugly real quick. And it was the first batter of the bottom of the 8th, and it was up in a little bit. I mean, if we want to call, if you've seen it, like it
wasn't that close.
And it was
close.
Up, and I don't think it was that close. I don't think it was that close. And I'm not taking anything away from Arenado because, I'd be pissed too. He was all geared up to get hit. Like he knew he was leading off the 8th. The Mets had talked about for weeks. They had talked about, hey, if you keep hitting us, we're gonna answer for ourselves. Like they kept saying.
Right.
So he knew it was going to happen. And I think he was expecting to get hit in the back, in the hip, whatever. And then the ball comes up. I don't think it was very close to his head, but easy to say from sitting on my couch. And then, but then he started kind of egging on the pitcher.
Right.
Right. He did get suspended, and I think he should have got at least 1 game, but it kind of escalated. But I think the Mets were looking for a fight. I'll be honest. Right. I think they didn't even hit him. And then he started jarring back to the pitcher, and next thing you know, the entire Mets dugout was already out. And then the Cardinals were like, I guess we're doing this. Yeah, I think the Mets just wanted it. And they needed it. I get that. They needed it.
Yeah. But Francisco Lindor and Eduardo Escobar are paying for the pitcher's fine, which is pretty dang cool. But
awesome. Awesome.
And then Showalter was suspended for tonight's game, and then Yohan Lopez for 3 for throwing at Kyle Schwarber. So the Mets are just like, listen, we're just gonna, take this into our own hands. We're not gonna let the league decide. We're gonna take out the Phillies. We're gonna take out the Cardinals. We'll handle
Lopez
it.
got optioned down too.
Did
he? Yeah, they optioned down. They were like, "You did your job, young man. Now go back to AAA and pitch some innings."
Brutal. Crazy. And then our final thing tonight to discuss, Trevor Bauer finally received officially his 2-year suspension. It kept getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. He received a 2-year suspension. Will he bounce back, or will we ever see Trevor Bauer again on a baseball field? Or is he done?
I think he'll try. I don't think he's not. I think he's the kind of guy who, I don't think he wants this to be his lasting thing. I think he'll try.
Yeah,
that's a long time to go without playing Major League Baseball, though. That's just and he's not 23. I think he'll try, but I do realistically probably think we've seen the last of him.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with, I'm fine with. If we're being
I haven't.
If we're in
really...
the trust tree together. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I haven't read too much about what the whole situation is, but it just seems like it's really messy and he just took it way too far, and then, anyways. But I don't know all the intricate parts of it, but
yeah,
I guess it came down to he said that like they were having like rough sex, and then he just took it that step further, and then that's where all the sexual assault charges have come from. But again,
which kind of
like I said,
I mean, isn't that what sexual assault is when you take things further than what it was supposed to be?
well,
I mean, isn't that
right?
kind
No,
of like
I get
that
it,
what? Yeah.
but
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, the defense of like, I don't understand the defense. The people coming to his defense, like, what? I mean, yeah, I mean,
right,
people have separate opinions. I get that. I
right.
probably should keep my mouth shut, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with him. I'm fine with never seeing him throw another inning in Major League Baseball, personally. But
right, it's too bad too, because like when he was on the mound, like he was,
Sure.
had that swagger. He made people excited about baseball for a little bit there, like especially when he had that swagger with the Reds, like when he had that Cy Young type season. And
well, and it helped too that he was so not afraid to like call out Major League Baseball, when I
Right.
think a lot of the fans were trying to call out Major League Baseball. Like it was interesting and kind of cool in a sense to have a guy that was in it also on your side in a
Right.
sense, being like, you know what, I agree, Major League Baseball needs to change this, that, or the other. But yeah, I mean, he did have some filth to him though on the baseball field.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I think MLB's suspension is not based on what he did. I think it's based on the fact they don't like him, and they want him to go away. He's the guy that blew the whistle on sticky stuff. He made the video showing how they do it.
Well,
sweat and rosin. Like he's been on the front lines of calling MLB out on all kinds of stuff. And I'll never forget him turning around on the mound, throwing the ball into the friggin' seats, because that was hilarious. But here's a guy who struggled to stay in the league and then finally found his groove and took off and then became vocal and started publishing his videos on YouTube and calling out the league for its insanity. And he was even one of the guys that was calling out during the lockout, calling out the players for being, full of crap in the way they negotiated. I mean, he has not made a lot of friends in the league because he said what's not popular. I've grown to really like him because he's the only guy that actually speaks the truth. And I think I think it's ridiculous when the leagues decide to take the court's actions into their own hands. This is a guy that they went through the whole
nice
process.
Goal, big one for the Bees.
No charges filed against him. MLB suspends him for 2 years. I honestly think it's MLB's way of trying to shove him off and get rid of him because they just don't like him. They don't want the stink that's going to be attached to him. They don't like his attitude. They don't like the fact that he says what he says and shows what he shows. So I think he's kind of become a pariah in baseball. But I think the suspension's ridiculous. I think that MLB is way overstepping its boundaries, and they're trying to become the judicial system, which is not their role. And he's going to challenge it. This is going to go on for a long time. Who knows? But
but every sport has that though.
You can't miss
every
2
sport
years
has
of
their
baseball
own.
and come back though. Like he
2
can't
years?
keep that arm. He can't keep that arm intact for 2 years and come back and pitch at 34 years old.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But every sport has that. Every professional sport has their, conduct bylaws and all that stuff. I mean, you see it in the NFL all the time with Roger Goodell when it comes to, criminal court found nothing against Adrian Peterson. I mean, and there was, I mean, like I mean, they strictly said that it had to do with their domestic violence policy and whatnot. I don't necessarily disagree that the 2-year suspension is probably because of. I think if it was any other player that's going through the exact same thing with the exact same charges, I think a suspension still happens. I don't know if it's 2 years. I'm not sure if it's
Marcelo Ozuna just had a domestic violence thing, and he only got 6 months. Why did Trevor Bauer get 2 years?
Didn't Ozuna beat the crap out of his wife too? Like
absolutely.
Chapman's one too. I mean, Aroldis Chapman has had some domestic issues.
And Aroldis Chapman is like an all-time scumbag, and that guy's still around. I get so irritated with the way MLB chooses to pick and choose their battles and go after this guy but not that guy, and it's MLB continuing to be out of touch with what's really going on and laying behind this domestic violence policy, which when you read it says like absolutely nothing, but it gives them carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. I think that they've targeted him, and I think he feels that, and that's why he's making a big stink.
I think Trevor Bauer has always felt targeted. I think Trevor Bauer
Oh, yeah.
feels bad for Trevor Bauer about everything. He
Well-
always feels like it's everyone else against him. It's the league against me. It's my teammates against me. It's he's got the biggest, and like maybe it's true, but like I've grown tired of like hearing and hearing that and reading that from Trevor Bauer. Like I just like whatever, dude. Like you went and did a really scumbaggy thing. Like, did the girl agree to have rough sex? Fine. But like you can't tell me that like when someone hears rough sex, they think that they're gonna get like their private parts punched and they're gonna be choked out and they're gonna wake up to like that's not rough sex. Like I can't like you can't just be like, oh, do you like rough sex? Oh yeah, I do. Let me just punch you in the private parts.
Yeah.
Like,
Ask Johnny Depp.
Crazy person.
Ask Johnny
behavior.
Depp about that.
That is crazy person behavior. And like, and do I think it's 2 years a steep penalty? Yeah, without a doubt. But like, I'm sorry, Trevor Bauer. Like, I'm not looking at this feeling bad for you because the league is out to get you. And you know why the league is out to get you? Because yes, you blew the whistle, but like you're just always on the forefront. Like he's always in the forefront of, Trevor Bauer says this. Trevor Bauer released this video. Trevor Bauer made this statement. Trevor Bauer this. And like whether it's blowing the whistle on the sticky substance or whatever, I think baseball's just like, you know what? I freaking had it with this guy. Like I just had it. And I can't necessarily say that I blame them.
Yeah,
No, I think this is Manfred. What we've learned in all of this is Manfred cannot have anybody that challenges him or baseball.
Agreed.
He can't have it. He can't have it. The guy has got no cojones or spine. So Trevor Bauer crawls right up his back, and I'm sure that that was probably the fastest suspension paperwork he's ever signed, was to try to get rid of that guy because he doesn't like him. And is Trevor Bauer obnoxious? Absolutely, Trevor Bauer is obnoxious. But so is Tom Brady. I mean, these guys all have their own things that kind of, that get them.
Other people.
But at the same time, I think it's the league continuing to do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, and they don't want to be challenged.
But how does he not get any time served though? Like he's been on administrative leave for almost a full year himself. Like how does that not
3-year suspension when you think about it? Although he got paid last year.
But he won't get paid this year? Is his contract null and void? No,
when he gets suspended under the policy, his salary is forfeited, so the rest of his contract is gone.
Dang.
So he got on administrative leave, he gets paid while they're figuring it out. And then once the suspension is real,
that's why the leave kept getting pushed. I got you.
Right, because they were paying him to figure it out.
Gotcha.
I don't disagree, Harrison, in the sense of like it's Manfred in the league saying we don't like to be challenged. And I just think like Trevor Bauer is not the hill to die on. Like he's just kind of a scumbag human being. Like he's just because no criminal charges have been filed. Like I don't know. Like that holds no weight to me. That like what was explained as happened. I'm not looking at it being like, well, that means that like I don't think that happened now. Like I definitely think that shit happened. Like I think it, and that's me, and I get that. But I just think like Trevor Bauer, like he's not the hill to die on in the sense of like Manfred needs to go. Like how dare Manfred? Like if you're gonna wield your ridiculous power, please by all means wield it over Trevor Bauer. I don't care. Like I guess that's more my point than like.
Right.
Do I think it's crazy that he's able to? Essentially, it's a 3-year, like you said. Essentially, it's a 3-year suspension, except one of them was a paid year. So, fine. Do I think that's crazy? Yeah, I think that's absurd. But I'm not losing any sleep over the fact that it's Trevor Bauer, I guess, is my overall point.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, it's just I just don't get the inconsistency of it. Would you have Marcelo Zuna? You have I think that's my biggest thing is, and I think that's the biggest thing with Roger Goodell that we've talked about before is like just the inconsistency of it. And I get that every story is different. Every case is different. I totally understand that. But like, if you're going to have a policy in place, you can't just be willy-nilly and be like, let's pull from a hat, 3-year suspension. Okay. But you know what I mean? Or like,
and then you got Deshaun Watson signing a new 5-year, $230 million contract with 23 cases over his head.
Guaranteed to all of it's guaranteed. That's crazy.
But what's interesting though is I'll be curious the next time this happens, because if we think this is only a Trevor Bauer thing, these guys are highly tuned athletic machines with massive egos. This stuff is happening everywhere. It's just not it's not public, and it wasn't. Of course, for Bauer, it didn't go public till he signed the big contract. Surprise that all these years it was happening, but then the big contract gets signed, and he's a target. I mean, I'll be curious the next person that goes down this same path, how it plays out for them. But it is amazing what the league has done here.
Yeah.
And should he be suspended? Absolutely. But I mean, the guy's now going to miss three baseball seasons. He might have gotten paid for one, but he didn't play last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're the Dodgers, you're sitting there looking at the league going, really? Like we signed the reigning Cy Young Award winner and you immediately take him away?
Yeah, the Dodgers, though, they're in a lose-lose too. Like, there's nothing they can do, because if the Dodgers come out and like bitch, moan, and complain, it looks like they don't care about domestic abuse. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the Dodgers they're in the worst spot because like they did nothing wrong. They signed a guy. I would like to think that when they gave him all that money, they didn't know about this bullshit. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like they signed to a contract with all this money. He barely gets to play for them, if at all, and then they can't even really express their upsetness about it because they just, look like misogynistic assholes that they do. So they're in the toughest spot of everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. I think that will do it for tonight.
We'll end on a happier note next week. That's a tough one to end on.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, congrats to David Griffin on the promotion.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Gonna be following you. This is just awesome. So congrats, Binghamton Rumble Ponies, for all of you guys that want to follow him as well. You can go back and watch that episode if you would like as well. It's awesome. I think he's like eating his dinner through the whole thing, but we talked baseball. Like, it was just great. It was a great night.
Nothing better.
But yeah, so just please like, subscribe, share our page, and then subscribe on YouTube. And I will release a question next week, and then we will see you next Monday at 8 p.m.